Today we're doing baby back ribs 3 ways. It's going to be a head-to-head competition. We're going to do Alton Brown's Who Loves Ya baby back ribs made in the oven with lovin', or is it McLovin?
McLovin?
We're going to do my ribs smoked on my old gal Dyna-Glo, and we're going to do Zack's ribs in an Instapot. So we got a lot to do. Let's get cooking. I picked up these back ribs at Costco. They're good quality for the price, and you get 3 racks in a pack. The very first thing I'm going to do is attempt to remove the silver skin on the back. The only problem is, well, it's not really a problem, but it looks like Costco already did that for me, so we're moving on. Since my ribs will take the longest, I'm going to start with mine first by making a brine. Of course, this is a totally optional step, but I feel it helps to keep them from drying out. I'm going to start it off with a half a cup of table salt. Then I'm going to add a half cup of brown sugar to add a bit of sweetness. And to that, I'm going to add a gallon of water and whisk it up real good. For aromatics, you can go with whatever you like or none at all. I always go with a teaspoon of peppercorns and a teaspoon of coriander seeds, a bay leaf, half an onion, a couple of garlic cloves, and last but not least, I like to add about a half a dried ancho chili pepper. Place your ribs meat side down and then into the fridge for at least an hour or overnight. Today we're going with 1 hour. Now I'm going to make my typical pork rub, and I start with 2 teaspoons of Kashmiri chili powder, but you can use regular chili powder as well. Then 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of Mexican oregano. Again, regular is fine. I like to use Mexican because it has some bigger flakes to it. And 2 teaspoons of cumin, a teaspoon of celery seed, and the reason I use celery seed is because it gives a nice floral note and really helps with the smoke ring. And I finish with a teaspoon of kosher salt and coarse ground pepper. Then I get Dyna started in the usual way. I dump a half chimney of coals in the basket, that's about 40 to 50 briquettes, and I light a couple of fire starters underneath them. I have a full-size foil pan with water on the last rack, and that helps to distribute the heat much more evenly. And lastly, I'm going to sweep up around Dyna so there's no leaves and such around the firebox. Okay, back into the kitchen now, and my ribs have had a nice soak for an hour, and it's time to apply my rub. But first, if you did do the brine, you'll need to check the rack to make sure you don't have any peppercorns and such still hanging around. Now, I like to lay down a binder of yellow mustard. You can do that, use something else, or do nothing at all. And then I generously coat the ribs on both sides. After about 20 minutes, the coals are ashed over, and it's time for my first piece of wood. And I'm going to go with apple. Keep in mind that I use Kingsford Professional, which is a bit more dense than regular Kingsford. So if you're using something else, your time may vary as to when your coals are going to be ready. Another 10 minutes have gone by, and the initial smoke from that first piece of wood has calmed down quite a bit, and it's time to add my ribs, bone side down. And as you probably know by now, I like to add this Thermpro probe so I can monitor temp from inside the house. I set a range on it from 225 to 275, below or above, and I need to adjust. If you're interested in the model, it'll be in the description. As you can see, the fire is burning nicely, all vents are open on Dyna, and it's time to move on to prepping Alton Brown's ribs. Now here's a fun fact. Did you know that Alton's baby back recipe is his most popular Good Eats show on the Food Network? I did not know that. Anyway, let's make his rub. His recipe calls for doing 2 racks. I'm only doing 1, so I'm halving the ingredients. I'll leave a link to his recipe in the description, of course. Let's get started. First up, 4 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon kosher salt, a teaspoon and a half of chili powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of jalapeno seasoning, which I had to order on Amazon, a 1/4 teaspoon of Old Bay, which is kind of weird to me since I think of Old Bay with seafood or Bloody Marys, and a 1/4 teaspoon of rubbed thyme, and finally a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. Mix it all together and apply it all to your ribs. Wrap them in plastic wrap and let them sit in the fridge for at least 1 hour or overnight. While AB's ribs are chilling, let's make the braising liquid that'll be used to cook them in the oven. Again, keep in mind I'm having the recipe. We start with a half cup of white wine, and to that add 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar. Then 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and a tablespoon of honey. And finally, 1 clove of chopped garlic. Whisk it up and pop it in the microwave for 1 minute. Now it's been an hour and we're ready to wrap and cook. If you're lucky enough to have heavy-duty tinfoil, go with that. And even then I would wrap it with 2 layers because I sprung a leak and then I had to rewrap the ribs. Give yourself plenty of tinfoil here, about 8 inches or more on either end. Put your ribs on the foil, bone side down, and crimp it up all around, leaving one end open. Then add the braising liquid. Crimp that up, and then into the oven it goes. His recipe at Food Network calls for the oven to be at 250 degrees, but his video says 225. So I split the difference and went with 235. Leave it in the oven for 2.5 hours, turning it around 180 degrees after an hour or so, just for even cooking. Okay, back to my ribs on Dyna, and it's been an hour and the temperature has dropped below 225 in the smoke chamber. So it's time to add another split. And I'm thinking I might as well take the opportunity to start spritzing every time I add a piece of wood now. Usually with ribs, I go with a 50-50 mix of apple juice or apple cider, maybe some water, but I didn't have apple juice, so I went with cranberry juice. We'll see how that turns out. Okay, I'm halfway through my cooking time, or about 2 hours in.
About 2 hours.
And I'm going to turn my ribs 180 degrees. This isn't completely necessary, but I do it to ensure even cooking in case there are any hot spots. Again, anytime I open the chamber or add wood, I'm going to take the opportunity to spritz because you don't want the ribs to get too dried out. And it's time to make my sauce. This time I start with a cup of ketchup, and then I add 2 tablespoons of melted butter, juice of half a lemon, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 tablespoon of yellow mustard, 1 tablespoon of hot honey, a teaspoon each of onion powder and garlic powder, a tablespoon of whatever leftover rub you have or whatever rub you have around, and finally, a tablespoon of adobo sauce. Whisk it, taste it, add water to it to get the consistency you like. I didn't add any sugar, but if you like it more sweet, go ahead and do that. Okay, it's been another 90 minutes, or 5.5 hours total now, and it's time to sauce my ribs. Now, there is probably a much better way to do this where you don't slop it all over the smoker, but I'm a bit in the weeds at the moment because we have to move on quickly and get Zack's ribs into the Instapot. For his ribs, Zack is going with a simple store-bought pork rub that we like called Bolner's Fiesta pork rub. If you live in Texas, no doubt you're familiar with Fiesta's no-frills and inexpensive rubs that you can find at any supermarket here. Obviously, go with one that you like, but if you want to check Fiesta's out, I'll leave a link in the description. To the pot, add half a cup of liquid. And here's where we made our first mistake. Zack is just using water, which is what the National Pork Board's recipe calls for, which incidentally is the #1 watched recipe for Instapot ribs on YouTube. You can put water in, of course, but I think vegetable broth or apple juice or whatever would have enhanced the flavor quite a bit. Then put a trivet in the pot and place your ribs on edge, curling them inside. And here's where we made our second mistake. The ribs are supposed to go in the pot meat side out, not in. And you'll see why this is a good idea later on. Finally, set the pot to manual or meat/stew and set the timer for 25 minutes. Keep in mind the total time for this is more than 25 minutes. It needs 10 minutes or so to come to pressure, 10 minutes or so to vent, and then 15 minutes to broil. So you're looking at a total time of 1 hour and 15 minutes, more or less. Okay, back to Alton's ribs, and it's been 2.5 hours now, and they're done. Now carefully pour the braising liquid into a saucepan and set the ribs aside, still keeping them in the foil. Bring that liquid to a strong simmer over medium-high heat to get this to reduce to a point where you can use it as a barbecue sauce. He doesn't give it time for this, but it took me almost 30 minutes to get it to a decent consistency. And use a good sized pot. You don't want any spillover. The next step for both Alton Brown's ribs and the Instapot ribs is to apply the sauce and then broil. We're going to do Alton's first using his reduced braising liquid. You can see that it's not really sticking to the ribs as I would have hoped. It's kind of still a little bit loose. The instant ribs are also done, having vented naturally, and they're also ready to be sauced. And here is why you should put the ribs in the Instapot meat side out, because it's going to curl, and it's better to have the curl on the bone side where gravity will strengthen it out rather than the opposite. Zack is going with a store-bought sauce, and his choice is use sugar-free original. Of course, go with whatever you have on hand or like. The last step is to set your broiler to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, this should take no more than 15 minutes, but it could take a lot less depending on your oven, so keep an eye on it. You don't want them to burn. Okay, well, the ribs are done after being in the oven and broiling. Not mine. Mine was in the smoker the whole time. I didn't wrap it. As you can see, this is my baby back ribs. They look dark. This is AB's, Alton Brown's baby back ribs, and this is the one that Zack did in the Instapot. So let's cut them up. Let's see what they look like. Before we dig in, let's take a closer look at the 3 ribs. This one is mine, smoked in the Dyna-Glo. Total time, including the brine and rest, about 6 hours. You can see a very nice smoke ring, a nice dark bark, and the meat is pink but firm. It's not fall off the bone. This one is Alton Brown's, braised and then broiled. Total time, including letting it sit with the rub for an hour, cooking, broiling, and rest, about 3.5 hours. The meat is pink and moist. The rib looks okay. It probably could have benefited from a second coat of sauce though. Finally, this one is from the Instapot and then broiled. Total time about 1.5 hours. You can see this one is the least appealing looking of the 3, but the meat is probe tender. All right, we're gonna have a taste test now. Walter is steadfastly on my side, but go ahead and have a bite and see what you think.
Smoked ones have the best flavor. The Instapot ones are the most tender. The ones I like the least are the Alton Brown ones. I'm not as keen on the flavor.
Yeah. And Alton Brown's, I really didn't get the rub. I mean, there was like a lot of ingredients in it. I didn't get the rub taste at all.
I didn't get any rub.
Didn't really get a rub on the Instapot ones either.
No, that's why I said the flavor was best on the smoked, but the meat was the most tender on the Instapot.
Yeah, the smoked ones, I didn't wrap them.
Did you get them a little more tender? Yes.
Like if I was to do in a competition, they would be really good because they had a good bite to them. They were firm. They didn't fall off the bone, which is what you don't want. So, this is tough. Yeah, flavor-wise, rib-wise, I probably would go for mine first. Then Alton Brown's, just because I thought they were kind of juicy, but you didn't think so. You thought they were, it's one vote for the missus. Mrs. Chuck is cooking, didn't seem to like them. Zack, what's your take?
I would go smoked into Instapot and then Alton Brown last.
Okay.
But it's pretty close between the Instapot and Alton Brown.
Well, there you have it, folks. My ribs beat, now you guys are being honest, right?
Yeah, we're being honest.
Okay. It's not just because you're, on the paid schedule.
Well, that too, yeah.
They don't get any money. I don't have enough subscribers. yeah, so it looks like smoking them in the Dyna came out on top, and then it was a toss up between AB and the Instapot. It just depends on what you're more in the mood for, as far as time goes, I guess. And we're gonna chop the rest of these up and have some dinner. Thanks for watching. I hope it helped, and I'll see you in the next one. All right. This is my good friend Mike, and he just popped in to try some ribs. So
Why not?
here we go. There's 3 ribs. We did ribs 3 different ways. I didn't put any sauce on it because I want you to get the flavor profile of the actual rib before you put sauce on it.
Okay.
But take a bite of each one and
Just let my fingers dig in, huh?
Yeah.
They're hot. They're very hot. Yeah.
Oh, you want a fork?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I never saw anybody eat a rib like that.
Well, here we go.
I'll get you a little knife too.
There we go.
Don't worry, we'll fix this in post.
How many times do you get to say that?
A lot.
I'm thinking so. All right. That looks good. It's a big plate. I cut it with forks. Oh man. That is fantastic. But what is going to be different about the way this is prepared and that's prepared and that? Is it different rubs or what is it?
Well, I'll tell you when you finish.
Okay.
So then you decide which one you like the most,
Okay.
and we'll go from there. I'll tell you which one is which.
Okay.
I want to give you spoilers.
Okay. Fair enough. Very different. Both good.
What's different about this one than that one?
I don't know. It's funny because this looks like it has more spice on it, but I tasted more spice in this one.
Okay, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here we go. This is probably my brand right here. I'm guessing, but historically, the color of a rib that has. Oh yeah. Yeah. They're all good, but that's my favorite.
Okay. I like to hear that because that's mine.
Oh, okay, nice.
The middle one here, that's Alton Brown's.
Okay.
It's his #1 watched show on Food Network.
Okay.
Who Loves You Baby Back Ribs, and he does them in the oven.
Okay.
And this one here, Zack did in the Instapot.
Okay.
It only took like an hour.
Interesting.
And this took about 3.5 hours. Mine took about 6 hours.
Yeah. It's worth the 6 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
A little bite. No, it's amazing. I appreciate
All right. Well, we're gonna get Mike some sides, and then he's gonna make us some old fashions, and we'll see you in a few minutes, or
Whatever.
or also. Yeah. Sounds good to me.
That's good.